Yes, your life is significant. It's kind of a given. It's kind of a truth that can't be debated or be rationalized away, because the one that determines your significance is not only you, and it's not primarily you. I think God determines your significance, and if one were to look at it from that point of view and see the price that He has paid to have you as a daughter, that's very significant, and it's eternal, and it's never ending, and it's not broken up in how you feel about it, whether you feel good or not. But I think our personal experience of our significance fluctuates. So sometimes I feel very significant. Maybe mine is the same as Leilani. Recently I feel so significant if I see someone and I connect with that someone and I walk away and I think, what is something? What is something that happened there? And it could be a very poor person that's, in his working clothes. So then I would feel significant, and my personal experience in some other context, I would feel less significant, especially where I can't contribute. And I feel maybe I should say something and I don't have anything to say, for instance. Then I feel less significant. But I think my personal experience, and everyone else's for that matter, and that's the way I think, is not primarily determined by that experience, that emotion that we feel about our significance. Because I think our significance is higher than that personal experience. Although I would not downgrade your experience and say, listen, you can't feel like that. You can feel like that. It's your right to feel insignificant sometimes. And then for me, the whole concept of significance, and I don't know if I've got this right, but this is currently how I think about it, is that there is actually a lot of significance in becoming insignificant. It's a paradoxical thing. So the significance that one might define on a secular way might be, I'm significant because maybe I possess this, or I contribute this, or my effort makes this difference, as opposed to letting go of that egocentric me, what I am and can do, can't do, should do, have done, and in some kind of humility, just be who you are, even if that means being insignificant. Maybe a lot of significance is then expressed through a person that lives a so-called insignificant life. I think a prisoner can be very significant. I think Paul of Tarsus was a prisoner for a long time, and he somehow lived a very significant life, even though he was insignificant in society's eyes. So I think significance is an experience, but I don't think the experience is the full extent of anyone's significance. Because you and I might interact with someone that in the general social standing, that person is actually very insignificant. Who is he? He's a poor worker. But your encounter with that person, like Leilani says, where she feels significance, is when you encounter a person like that and you see that person. You recognize that person. You acknowledge that person. And you don't acknowledge that person per se because he's dressed nicely in a suit and a tie and he drives in a nice car. You acknowledge him exactly for all the opposite reasons. Because maybe nobody has seen him today or her. Nobody has acknowledged him or her today. And you come by and this is your opportunity to tell this person that sweeps the floors every day where you walk, where I walk. Every day you see that person. And maybe the awareness that could be created with us is just to stop one day and just put your hand on her shoulder and say, you know what, you really do important work. Maybe nobody tells you that, but I want to tell you this. So in that person's being insignificant, a sweeper, floor sweeper, suddenly that insignificance is actually very significant because it has been recognized by someone.
So would you say it's a choice to be significant?
I think so.
Choice. You can either, you see something, you can make a choice, am I going to do something significant or am I not? I'm just going to walk away.
I think it's a choice, but I think sometimes we might be overwhelmed by certain situations and circumstances where the general feeling in that moment might be, I'm insignificant. You might encounter, if you're a woman, someone that's more beautiful than you or taller than you or sexier than you, or whatever criteria in your mind is very important to you, and you might think, I'm not as smart as this one, and in that moment feel insignificant. But you are actually never insignificant. So your experience is not a good barometer to indicate your significance. One has to supersede that experience and find some other benchmark to determine your significance. And that significance for each one might be different. When you've achieved your degree, maybe then you think you're significant. Maybe when you have acquired your first million for some, then I might feel significant. Or maybe you got your children, you were barren for a season and now you've got your children, now you feel significant. So those things might make us feel significant, and it's great, those things. When we do encounter them, go through them, experience them, achieve them. But still, those things are not the primary, or should not for most of us be the primary benchmark of your significance.
But beingness, not having or doing.
Say again?
It's about beingness, not having or doing.
I think so. I think if one draws that distinction, which we've talked earlier in the year about factual truth and call it spiritual truth, the factual truth is that in that moment, it's factually true, I feel not as great. I might have had a bad night, some dreams that I can't even remember. I wake up and now the washing machine is not working, or the power went down and the fridge is running down. There are many things that impact us. And by the mere fact of that, those things that impact us, we can in a moment start a day by feeling, who am I? But we don't think in those terms, we just feel. It's more like a feeling that lingers with you. You might feel you're insignificant. So, I don't know, everyone's got his route as to how he deals with that. My route, if I can share it, is that that's not my barometer of significance. My barometer of significance is a God that says, irrespective of where you are, what you've done, what you haven't done, what you should have done, what you think about who you are, I say, I love you. And if one starts to draw from that as a barometer, as a benchmark, as a paradigm to utilize, to define yourself, I think you're closer to the truth. Because that is the spiritual truth that cannot be done away with by the way we think. If we dislike the fact that there is gravity, gravity is not going to go away because we don't like gravity, or don't agree with gravity, or don't acknowledge gravity. Gravity is a spiritual truth. It's a truth that exists irrespective of a mind thinking about it. Now, there are many of those truths that in some way define us. Because my purpose as a person, your purpose as a person, is not your thinking. It's not designed by you either. What we do in our thinking is walking more into it, understanding it better and deeper, and getting grips with it more and more as we progress on this journey. But it has existed before you have understood it, before I have discovered it. There is a purpose for this life. There is a purpose for each one of these lives. And that purpose is actually, and divorce is not the right, is divorced from you. Whether you believe that purpose exists or not, the purpose will exist. Whether you think you've got a purpose or not, there is a purpose for your life. Whether you understand that purpose or don't understand that purpose exists. Same with identity. Whether you understand who you are or not, you are someone. And us walking into that is merely as grasping something that has forever existed, that has been there forever. As grasping it, discovering it, starting to grab hold of it, embracing it, is merely greatness in life that one can enter. That it has existed was beyond us. That there's identity for each life, that there is a purpose for each life, that there is greatness in each life, that there is beauty in each life, exists irrespective of whether that specific life understands it, embraces it, loves it, walks in it. Or whether in any time of a day one loses touch with those truths because someone scolded you or your boss is treating you badly or whatever, or you just bumped your toe and now you're in pain and you can't think about your identity and purpose and don't even think about that. And if someone will say, do you have a purpose while you're holding your toe? You say, wat die hel het dit uit te waai met enigiets nou? So, as losing touch with things like that does not neglect, negate, take it away, just to qualify us in the significance that we have as people. That's why we have to entertain often thinking that is beyond just the human experience. I'm all for the human experience, and I've personally, and I know many of you, have compassion for the human experience and can see grace in the human experience. But each life is much bigger than just the human experience. So significance, whether it is felt or not, whether it is experienced or not, whether it's entertained by a mind or not, it exists.
Awareness.
Yes. Awareness makes the difference, I agree with you. Being aware of someone else. In your case, it's beautiful because you're granting that significance to that person which is seemingly insignificant. Brings significance back to you and that person. So seeing significance or being aware of significance, whether in yourself or in someone else, brings about significance. It is actually as just stepping into the truth, because it is, you are significant. I don't think anyone feels significant 24/7. But I think in essence, in the beingness of everyone, you are significant. I think with many things it is like that we need, like for instance, to believe that you can do all things through Christ. That is a kind of it must be true, because I think the Bible says that. But for us to walk in that is like a journey, and sometimes we fall, get up and try again, fall, get up and try again. But the older we get and the more we embrace that thinking, the less we fall, the less we stop not thinking that we can do all things that we are predestined to do. But it's like a journey. Sometimes I even class that under healing, trust the process. You know, I could encourage someone and really inspire someone to start to believe that there is the possibility of the healing in a relationship, for instance. And where they are at that point in time is there's no way that this relationship can mend. But as we start to journey, it becomes a bit more clearer, till eventually they might even say, it's possible. For the first time after, let's say, 10 weeks journeying with you, I sort of feel it's possible. So that walking into the truth, whether the truth is that you are significant, or there is healing for relationships that are broken, or you are able to do all things through Christ. It's a kind of a process, kind of a journey, kind of a thing that sometimes we don't embrace fully, but as we journey, and others shows it to us, then it becomes, it's possible, it must be. It is possible to walk up to someone sweeping a floor and say, thank you for what you do. That is possible. So bringing significance to someone is possible. I know it sounds very simplistic, as if, Nico, we all knew that. Yeah, we all knew that, but it would be good if we all start to practice that as well, Because there is some significance that we derive and are imparted back to us when we see significance in others. But feeling significant 24/7, feeling self-confident 24/7, no. Feeling on top of the world 24/7, no. Feeling the joy of the Lord 24/7, no. Feeling hopeful because Christ is your hope 24/7, no. But feeling that versus, like, you draw the distinction, knowing you are that, is two things. And they might not correlate in any point in time. But when they do correlate, there is some poetry in motion. When maybe you know you are the hope for this world, and you feel it. When those two things correlate, when they synergize, when they align with one another, when it becomes possible that which you are is also what you feel in a moment, I think it's beautiful. If you know you love, you are love. Who lives in you? And He is love. So you are love. And when you feel it, as opposed to just think it, as opposed to just act upon the reality of it without the feeling, we could do that because we must love Him with our whole heart, soul, and mind. So sometimes the heart is there, and that's a beautiful experience. But sometimes the heart is not there, so you must just know with your mind, think it, I love, and I make a choice to love. I don't have an exhilarating feeling when I love, but this is what I choose, and I love, and it's a cognitive, intellectual mind thing. And that's also fine. But sometimes when we start to feel that which we are, it's very powerful. I don't know, I think it's very powerful. It makes a difference to those around us. You are significant. Thanks, Gussie. That's the thought for the week. Think it, embrace it, live it, is it, am it, are it. You are significant.